we do want to get input from all of you. So we generally plan the webinars about 6 months in advance. And so if there are topics that you would like to learn more about, again, in that health and wellness space, thinking of yourself or your family members, please don't hesitate to email me. And you can send it right to my email. And I'm going to put it into the chat, but it's really simple, liz.joy@imail.org. And right now I am the keeper of the webinar schedule, and I really look forward to getting your ideas about future webinars. And we'll find great speakers like Jefferson to present. So without further ado, I am going to go ahead and interview our speaker. His background is in exercise science and health and wellness coaching. He has a master's degree from the University of Utah in health and wellness coaching. He joined our team at the Salt Lake Livewell Center in May of this past year, and he is a new dad. He and his wife had a baby girl, I think on Halloween. Is that right, Jefferson?
Yes, that's right.
Oh my gosh, a Halloween baby. She's going to have the best birthday parties ever.
Yeah, no, it's fun. We're excited to have her join our family. It's been fun so far.
That's cool. It's awesome. First Christmas. All right.
Exactly.
Well, so Jefferson, the deal with the Livewell webinars, we start on time and we end on time. So I'm going to turn it over to you, let you go ahead and share your screen, put myself on mute, and you can take it away, and hopefully we'll have time at the very end for just a few questions.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Joy. Appreciate the opportunity to be here with you all today. Let me go ahead and see if I can share my screen. It's been a minute since I've done this, so here we go. Hopefully this works. If I start talking about stuff and no one knows what I'm doing, if I don't know what I'm doing, here we go. Don't want to copy the image. Okay, can everybody see this right now, the SMART goal setting?
We can. You might want to put it in slide view versus slide sorter. Then it's just a little bit bigger.
It's trying. There we go.
There you go. Excellent. All right.
Okay.
Myself off.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Joy. Okay, everybody. Well, welcome. As Dr. Joy said, I am Jefferson. I'm one of the exercise physiologists here at the Livewell Center in Salt Lake. A lot of my background is in health and wellness coaching, and we're excited to get a lot of that up and off the ground in 2022 with the Livewell Centers. In health and wellness coaching, though, goal setting is a huge part of what we do. We obviously are talking with patients about helping them make changes in their lives. And one of the best ways to help people make changes is through the process of SMART goal setting. Now, I'm obviously not there with you, and this is just a presentation, but I would encourage you all to have a piece of paper, go through the process with me. Even just a note on your phone is fine. I'm analog. I like to actually write things down. But I want you to start off by thinking of a goal that you have. Now, this time of year, we oftentimes think of setting New Year's resolutions and that sort of thing. While a resolution can be a type of goal, I don't recommend making all these huge grand changes overnight. That's why we do this SMART process. But if you do have something that you have been wanting to make a change about, I would encourage you to maybe take a moment and write that down. Now, oftentimes, especially in the well coaching world, we set goals because we want to make changes in our lives, whether that's a health behavior, whether that's a habit we want to develop, a habit we might want to stop, something like that. Oftentimes we see things like this where, I want to eat better, I want to get more sleep, I want to read more often, I want to lose weight or take all my meds, or, insert desire that people want to have, right? Now, oftentimes desires for being at a certain state of being is a common goal people will set for themselves. But the problem is that they oftentimes are fairly vague. I was talking with Dr. Joy earlier today, and she was telling me about some of the conversations she's had recently where people are saying basically these exact things. And, you know, if the goal that you're setting for yourself can be an entire section of Barnes & Noble, then you might want to refine things a little bit more. So how can we make these goals better? Well, I like to use the S.M.A.R.T format as a template. And so what is that? Well, a SMART goal, first of all, SMART is an acronym, right? So SMART is an acronym for effective goal setting. You know, there are several different versions of this that you might see in different settings. Personally, I like to use this acronym. First of all, you want to be specific. You want to be measurable, you want to be accountable, you want to be realistic and timely. Now, sometimes you'll hear different words in there. Sometimes you'll hear, you know, attainable or achievable or time-bound, that sort of thing. I like the accountability piece though, so more on that in just a minute. So if you haven't already, you know, again, I would encourage you, write down one of your goals, and then we're going to go through this process and see if we can't make it a little bit better. So, specific, right? Adding elements of specificity is huge when we're trying to make a goal that follows that format, for one, but oftentimes by making things specific, you actually make things a little bit more realistic for yourself. So a common one that I hear is the idea that I want to eat better, right? That can mean so many different things. And so how can we actually refine that? First of all, you got to think about what you're trying to do and what does it mean to you to eat better, right? Well, maybe for some people it's eating less red meat. Maybe for others it's eating more vegetables or getting rid of your salt shaker or whatever it might be. Oftentimes when you are making a goal more specific or refining that goal into something that would follow the SMART format, it's going to be a little bit shorter. A shorter phrase typically is a little bit better, but not always. There are instances where a longer, a longer course goal is okay. However, you'll see this in just a minute when we actually put it all together. The longer your specific action is going to be, the longer the total goal itself will be. So it's not always long, but it can be. Not always short, but it typically is, right? We want to make things as simple, obviously, as possible, right? We want to avoid a compound goal. You know, I want to be more active by going hiking 6 times a week and going to the gym 3 times a week and getting more sleep and eating better. Well, first of all, 2 of those things weren't related to physical activity, and that's a really kind of large thing to do. And so maybe we can break that down into more manageable pieces. So oftentimes when we are in that process of making the goal measurable, it'll help make things more specific. You might notice when I gave that example just now, there actually was 2 examples of a fairly decent goal in there. I want to go to the gym 3 times a week. I want to go hiking, every Saturday, that sort of thing can be a specific action that you want to take, right? And so let's talk a little bit more about making things measurable. To go back to that idea of wanting to eat better, that example that I gave there, first of all, if I narrow things down to I want to eat more vegetables, well, I got to know how many vegetables I'm eating right now, right? And for some people, it makes sense to keep a log or to keep track and do that sort of thing. But oftentimes you might just pick a number and say, well, maybe it would be good if I ate 2 cups of vegetables every single day. By adding in that element of measurability, it allows me to quantify my goal. It gives me a box that I can check. It gives me something to actually do to know whether or not I'm meeting that goal in the end, right? It helps you know if you're actually getting to that point. It also allows you to track your progress and make adjustments, especially over time. Now, timely is going to come in just a minute, but we got to evaluate what we're doing, right? If I say I want to eat 2 cups of vegetables every single day and then eat 2 cups of vegetables today, have I met my goal, or is that a new habit that I've developed? Is it something that I know that I'm always going to do? But also, is Wednesday, January 5th going to be the same as, next weekend when I'm going out of town and I might not be in control of the foods I eat as much because you're eating at restaurants or something like that, right? Something that, having that aspect of measurability allows you to track progress and make adjustments to it. One other piece that I wanted to mention is that anything worth doing is worth doing halfway. Now, oftentimes you hear, colloquialisms saying that, don't do anything halfway. You got to do it, don't do 2 things halfway, do 1 thing all the way, right? And that's very true, but anything really worthwhile, whether it's brushing your teeth every day or being active or eating well, if you do it half the time, that's better than doing it none of the time, right? So do your best. Wanted to get that piece in there. Now, the accountability piece also is huge, right? As we are trying to be more conscientious of the foods we eat, as we're trying to eat more vegetables, it's helpful to have someone kind of on your team, deciding who that person's going to be, whether that's a spouse or a friend or a family member, a health coach, come on down to the Live Well Center. We'd love to help you out with that sort of thing. It can make a huge difference in your success, knowing that 2 weeks from now you have a meeting with someone who you're going to talk to and say, hey, how did it go eating 2 cups of vegetables every day? It can be a little bit more motivating. You're going to have someone who you're going to have to talk about with. Also helps you make a plan, right? Have someone to help you, create a plan for success. Additionally, it's good to have ways of reminding yourself of your goal. Now, oftentimes, physical reminders like notes on the mirror, reminders on your phone can work, but it's easy to let them kind of fade away. So having a person who is there to say, hey, how did it go eating your vegetables this week can be really helpful, and if they're the person cooking food for you, that makes it all the better, right? Next, we have that element of being realistic with yourself. Now, this kind of comes back to the measurability piece. And some of the things that I said at the beginning, you might have noticed some changes that we can make here, right? So if we have my goal as it stands right now that I want to eat better by eating 2 cups of vegetables every single day, it might not be the most realistic thing for me. As I mentioned, maybe some weekends I'm out of town, or maybe I don't have control every single day of all the vegetables that I need to eat or of all the food that I'm going to be eating. And so sometimes it's helpful to make sure that what I'm doing is going to be reasonable for me. Now, for some people, eating 2 cups of vegetables every single day might be a breeze. For others, it might not be, right? So maybe making adjustments to the goals, making it 1 cup of vegetable a day, or maybe saying for 3 of the next 7 days, or for 6 of the next 7 days, or for 2 weeks out of the month, or whatever it might be, making the goal a little bit more reasonable, a little bit more tailored to you and your specific needs, and what you are able to do is going to make that much more effective for you, because it's going to be something you can actually do. This can, oftentimes we will ask the question of, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you're going to reach your goal? 1 being no confident at all, 10 being yes, absolutely. We want to be at that 10 level. So anything other than saying 10, yes, I'm super confident, that's not really setting yourself up for success. You also want to think about the time frame. Weight loss goals, while they aren't necessarily the best thing for me, it's, for some people that is indicated, and some people have that goal. But 20 pounds in 5 days, that's just not physically possible, and so it's the kind of thing that you want to really be honest with yourself and think about what is it that you're trying to do. Another common one that I hear frequently is, when I was in high school, I was running a 6-minute mile. great, you're now 55 and you haven't run for 15 years. Is that 6-minute mile realistic for that person? Maybe, maybe not. You know, it kind of depends on some other factors, but something that is, it's something that you need to think about as you're setting this goal for yourself. The last piece within that SMART format is keeping things timely, keeping things time bound, you know, giving yourself a deadline, giving yourself a schedule, more or less, you know, having a idea of when you want to accomplish your goal is huge. You know, if I want to be able to run a 7-minute mile, I need to know that today I'm not, and I'm probably not going to be able to tomorrow, but maybe it's realistic for me to do that in March. Maybe it's realistic for someone else to do that in February, or maybe for someone else in October, you know, so you have to kind of start where you are. To come back to my example of eating more vegetables, eating 2 cups of vegetables a day. If I eat 2 cups of vegetables today, have I accomplished my goal? Well, maybe, maybe not. I like to use 2 weeks as a good measure for those short-term goals as I'm trying to create new habits, right? So I might say for the next 14 days or the next 2 weeks or by, you know, January 20th or however I want to phrase things, I want to be able to say that I've accomplished this goal. I know what that goal is because I've made it simple and specific. I know what it will look like because I've quantified it by making things measurable. I've talked with my wife about it, and she's going to help keep me accountable to my goal. I feel confident that I can do that, and now I'm timely on when I'm going to have that down. I have a timeline for myself. Creating that timetable and setting a date is very beneficial. Sorry, I forgot to click those bullet points. Mark it on your calendar and set regular reminders for yourself. So this whole process is really geared towards creating this final structure. Now, I mentioned when you are writing the goal, it's helpful to have it short because I like to have I will statements, you know, so I will do this. Now, with the structure of things, sometimes it can feel a little bit clunky, but I do think it's helpful to have all of the elements of that SMART goal written out. And so I might say something along the lines of, by this date, I will state my specific measurable goal that I've set for myself and be kept accountable by whom, what, how, etc. Right? And so for me, the example that I gave, you know, with eating more vegetables, I might say by January 20th, I will eat 2 cups of vegetables every single day for 3 out of the 7 days of the week and be kept accountable by my spouse, right? And then you've taken that original statement of I want to eat better and turned it into something that you can actually do, a goal that you can set for yourself and something that seems pretty doable, to be honest, for me. February 1st, so sorry, and 4 times a week. Should have clicked my bullet points earlier. Apologies for that. Now, I mentioned this earlier, I alluded to short and long-term goals. Now, short-term goals, long-term goals, it just changes the timetable a little bit, but I do still recommend having that same structure for long and short-term goals, you know, the specific, measurable, accountable, realistic, and timely or time-bound. The goal that I had provided earlier, that example of February 1st eating 2 cups of vegetables, that's a great example of a short-term goal. Maybe a longer-term goal might be something, you know, by August 1st, I'll follow my family budget to put aside $100 each month for our family vacation. Accountability will come from our weekly planning meetings. I'm not going to get too much into this, but you can kind of see in there how there could be several smaller goals, several shorter term goals within that longer term goal, but it still follows that same SMART format. A couple of notes for you, right? First of all, keep it simple, right? Again, we want to avoid those complex, compound, overly complicated goals because they're just a little bit harder to keep yourself on track for. You know, if I'm trying to do 4 things in one, I might miss something, right? Or I might feel like I'm not doing things when really I'm doing 2/3 of what I was trying to do. But then I'm focused on what I'm not doing, not on what I am doing, right? Focus on things under your control. I mentioned this earlier, and also it's a common one this time of year of people talking about weight and weight loss. You can't really control your weight. You can control behaviors that influence your weight, like your physical activity, your nutrition, your sleep, your stress levels, and all of that. Or rather, you can control the things that influence your stress levels, right? And again, there's important distinctions there. But keeping things under your control takes so much pressure off, because I can control whether or not I brush my teeth at night. I can't control whether or not I get a cavity based off of how often I am brushing my teeth. But I can set myself up for success. Give yourself progression, right? More complexity can come with time. Maybe right now, what's realistic for me is going for a walk twice a week. Maybe training for that, world record marathon pace can come at a later time when more complexity is more realistic for you, right? And the last piece with that is give yourself some grace, build in some margin for error here, be realistic and say that, 3 times every week is going to be realistic for me, even though ideally I'd be doing this every day. Remember, it comes back to that piece of anything worth doing is worth doing halfway. So keep those things in mind. You also notice that these goals don't always have to be physical things. Within the well coaching world, we use very frequently a device called the wellness wheel to direct your goal setting, right? There's a physical area, right? We talk a lot about that, but there's so many other areas: the emotional health, the spiritual health, environmental, intellectual, financial, occupational, and social, right? Use those to help inform those different areas. And if you want to hear more about that, I'd encourage you to set up a meeting with one of the health coaches here at the Live Well Center, and we can talk more about all of that. But that said, love to see you guys again. We have several health and wellness services. That is everything that I have for you. I'm going to go ahead and get out of this screen here and stop sharing. Hopefully, I think we're still under time. Got about 5 minutes left. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, Jefferson, this is Liz. Thank you so much. That was awesome. I learned a lot. And just to let everyone know that we will be uploading his PowerPoint presentation as well as a recording of the webinar to the Healthy at Home website, because I think there were some fabulous tips on that, for SMART goal setting. And what I really like is how you kind of applied the KISS principle to this. And I'm a big fan of keep it simple, stupid. So really helpful and very applied. And I think probably most, if not all of us, learned a great deal. I am going to take the moderator's prerogative and ask you a question about triggers. Please. About triggers. You talked a little bit about prompts, about putting like a reminder in your iPhone or something like that. But a trigger is a little different, right? I mean, I always think of the BJ Fogg, story that, he decided that his trigger was going to be every time he went to the bathroom, he was going to do 20 push-ups. And he assured everyone, that he didn't do those push-ups on the bathroom floor. But the point was, it was something that he did every single day, and he used it as a trigger, to implement a small step towards a longer-term goal, which was to get more fit and to lose some weight. And it's his classic story, and really sets the stage for his Small Steps website. So can you give us maybe some other examples of triggers, that you use maybe with your health and wellness coaching patients, clients?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I love that story. It's a good one. I have used something similar. One time I had a woman who was trying to be more physically active. So every time she brushed her teeth, she would do squats, The the thing with triggers though is, and with well coaching in general, is I can't tell you what to do. If I tell you, you know what, this is going to work, this is going to be great, you know, do 20 push-ups every time you go to the bathroom. For some people, they might respond well to that. Maybe others, that's not going to work for them, right? So have a conversation. That's why that accountability piece is so helpful. You know, talk with the person who you're going to be doing this with. You know, ideally get that spouse involved. You know, if we're eating 2 cups of vegetables every day, maybe we're sharing that meal together, right? But if we're having some sort of goal where we're trying to come up with something, or if I'm trying to come up with something, 20 push-ups every time he went to the restroom works. Maybe for me, it'd be every time I, you know, walk down this certain hallway, I'm doing lunges, or maybe I'm going to take the stairs every time I see them, or something to that effect, right? Hopefully that answers that question though.
Yeah, no, it does. It's the difference between a coach and a prescriber. I'm trying very hard to be more coach-like and less prescriptive, but I'm slowly but surely learning. Another thing that's been in the chat, and I guess I'll speak for all of those who have kind of put their comments in, is, you know, in that accountability piece, you know, you talk about somebody who can kind of help you, but I made a comment that I like having a partner to actually share a goal with. Because I think it's more fun that way, particularly in the celebrate success part of it. But also to help you overcome barriers like getting your sorry self out of bed in the morning, you know, or doing yoga once a week. Okay, now everybody knows my goals. So anyways, can you talk a little bit about goal setting with a partner? And we only have about a minute left, so.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm for it. Do it. It's more effective. You know, having a walking group, having people who are going to get your butt out of bed. Absolutely, right? We also use that strategy if you're trying to be more social, you know, do a physical activity goal with that, or join a cooking class, or, you know, go to a book club or something like that. Get that intellectual health, get the social aspect, get the emotional aspect that comes from the social aspect and all of that, right? Absolutely. Get the more people, the better. Get that team mentality.
Awesome. All right. So I'm not seeing any other comments or questions in the chat. But Jefferson, thank you for kicking off the 2022 Live Well webinar. I can't think of a better topic other than doing SMART goals and really kind of framing it that way so people can be successful. And all of you, please join us in a couple of weeks. We're actually going to have one of, we want to do success stories. You know, we've been doing interviews with an athlete about every 6 months. So in 2022, we're going to kick off inviting some of our Live Well heroes to join us here on the webinars and share with all of you how they were successful in achieving some of their wellness goals. So thanks again for joining us this evening, and thanks again to Jefferson. Have a great evening. Drive safely, you guys. If you're driving, the roads are bad. Bye.
Everybody.